Wally Marcus, parent coordinator with Alyce Pennington. Support for Divorce TV provided in part by the Center for Divorce Mediation, 520-577-1202. Welcome to Divorce TV. I'm your host, Wally Marcus, and I've been a divorce mediator for over 25 years. Our topic today is parent coordinators. My special guest is Attorney Alyce Pennington, and you can get, we'll put on the screen a little bit later on where you get more information about Alyce, but if you want information about our program or connections to Alyce's website, you can see the information at the bottom of the screen. Alyce, welcome. Thank you for coming. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you for inviting me. I am an attorney. I've been an attorney for over 25 years, and I'm also trained as a mediator. In some of my business as being a lawyer, the judges decide that they want to appoint me for various tasks, and I think we're here today to talk about one of those tasks, and that's being a parenting coordinator.
And that's you're the person on parent coordination. When anybody thinks parent coordination, they always think of you. So it's you've established your reputation as well as doing lots of other good things. But I know you're a big volunteer in the community and done a lot of things, and we're always have an asset to have somebody like you here. What is actually parenting coordination? Well, before I do that, let me get it on the screen so I can tell people a little bit more of where to get information about you. This is Alyce's name, and which I've got in her website and her telephone number. So if you want to get that more information about Alyce, we'll flash it on the screen periodically during the show. But what is parent coordination?
Parent coordinators are people who are appointed by the court to act as a dispute resolver for parents who are not able to resolve certain disputes. And it's a good alternative to having to go back to court time after time after time if the parents have a small thing or a big thing that they're arguing about.
How did you get involved in the parenting coordinating program?
Well, there was a training that was conducted about 4 or 5 years ago, and a number of us were requested to come and attend the training, and so we went through the training, and then after that I just began to be appointed by the judges in a variety of cases.
What attracted you to that aspect of family law?
Well, I have been trained as a mediator, and so I'm always interested in resolving cases for people and helping them get through to the other side. And it seemed as if it was really a good thing for children, and I represent children a lot, so I see the harm that can come to children. So I think that really interested me in doing this kind of work. That's
interesting. I mean, you say that because I got involved in mediation the same way. When I became a parent, I said there's got to be a better way that divorce, especially the conflict of divorce, is not good for children. So why would you actually have a parent coordinator?
Well, a lot of times what we see is judges call them frequent flyers, and that implies that they are seen at the courthouse a lot. So if they are fighting over every single thing that comes up, and lots of conflict and ongoing conflict, and sometimes other kinds of cases that are appropriate for parent coordinators would be if there's mental illness, and sometimes somebody is completely unable to parent. So we need a decision made quickly about whether someone's parenting time should be reduced or something should happen very quickly. So for people who have high conflict and for people who, for some other reason, need issues resolved quickly, and the court system does not seem to be serving them well.
So is this instead of a judge, or what's the relationship between parent coordinating and going to court, which I used to call short calendar, and was anything but short?
Right. The parent coordinator is not a judge, but we sit in a capacity of making decisions. So it's sort of the same thing as a judge. The parent coordinator will listen to the parties and then make a quick decision and forward recommendations to the court.
Is this done with in person, or do they do it with email or telephone calls, or how does it work?
Each case is a little bit different, and each parent coordinator has a little different style about how they do things. Some people meet each and every time and then make a decision. Other people say, no, we're just going to keep the conflict to a minimum, because sometimes it's just not healthy to have the parties in the same room with each other. So sometimes we'll just do it by email or in writing. And the parties do have the right to appeal this to a judge. So it's not something that they have no recourse.
How do they decide if they're going to go to a judge or go to the parent coordinator? Or once they have a parent coordinator, they always go to the parent coordinator?
If they have a parent coordinator, then they're required to go to the parent coordinator first, and a decision is made by the parent coordinator. That's forwarded to the parties and to the court. And then the parties have a limited time to appeal that to the court, and if they appeal it to the court, then the judge is going to make the ultimate decision.
Is that every single issue? Are there any issues the parent coordinator can't handle, or do they?
Parent coordinator is not going to decide money issues, generally speaking, is not going to change child support, and is not going to make a radical change to the parenting time. So, for instance, you can't change legal custody or significantly affect the parenting time. But smaller issues like, where are we going to meet to exchange the children? When does my vacation start? No, that's not when your vacation is going to start. So
it's very, I always laugh because those of us in family law hear all these all the time.
Right. Other common issues are issues of where the child is going to go to school, what the religion is going to be.
So you would get into a religious issue? Interesting.
Absolutely. Sometimes we have some discussions about whether children can be even exposed to certain kinds of religions, and that can cause a great deal of conflict.
I always, I know it's hard and there's some confidentiality issues, but can you share with us some examples and some of these things that you've do without breaching confidentiality?
Sure. I've had a couple of cases where the parents agree to raise the children in a certain religion, either in the Jewish religion, in the Catholic religion, and then one of the parents changes their religion and will begin to introduce the children to that new religion, taking them to services, or even in the case of one family that was a Jewish family, whether or not the children could be exposed to any other religion, such as taking the children to a Christmas pageant or something like that. Can that be done? So we see those kinds of issues.
How do you, this seems like Solomon dividing the baby. How do you do that?
It is, and how we do that is we first look at what their general decree and their agreement is, and then we get a sense of what these people originally agreed to or what the court originally ordered. And then we look at the reasonableness of both parties, and ultimately what's underlying everything is what's in the best interest of the children. Are the children being harmed by some kind of exposure to some radical religion, or is it something that is simply interesting to the children, or they have friends who are going to be in a Christmas choral pageant or something like that, and the children really want to do it. So we look at each facts.
The issue that came to mind that I used to see a lot of in the practice was when you have a couple getting divorced and they're beginning to introduce new significant others in their life. Is that an issue that you would deal with also?
Oh, that's a frequent issue. I hate that new girlfriend. I hate that new boyfriend.
Or overnight visitations, or I mean, a lot of things. How you introduce a new person to the children.
Right. We see a lot of conflict around that, and there's no good way to introduce a new person. I think a lot of people, there are a lot of bad ways to do it, and so there's a lot of dispute about that. No, I don't want that person spending the night when my child is sleeping there. No, I don't want my child exposed this early. So we see a lot of those.
How do you separate out in that situation? It seems to me very often that's not the real issue. I mean, sometimes it's the anger of the divorce which is spilling over into other issues.
A lot of times in parent coordinator cases, as we see in mediation cases and even in court, people sometimes just want a chance to vent, to have someone hear that they're unhappy about something. And so if they have a chance to be heard and vent a little bit, and they're validated that I understand what your concerns are, but frankly we're going to move on, and here's the new roadmap of how you're going to proceed, then they're okay.
Do the people actually listen?
Sometimes. And sometimes they don't listen to me, but sometimes my ruling, I think, gives a good sounding board for their counselor or their attorney to talk to them more about the realities of what a judge would do with this case. And then oftentimes families need a really quick decision. Even if it's a wrong decision, at least it's a decision that helps them move on and move forward.
Interesting. What would this time differential be if you had to go to court versus going a parent coordinator?
Well, I've had somebody call me up and say, we have an emergency, the child needs an emergency operation, and we're disputing who can be in the waiting room when the child comes out. So I can decide